So the title for the word today is, do you need a tune-up? How fun. And those of us who don't know what tune-ups are, and I put us because obviously I had to, before I had a car ever in my life, I didn't know what a tune-up was. I didn't know what the heck that is, you know what I mean? And even now, I don't know the the whole context of it and why it happens and what your car needs, you know what I'm saying? And the only reason why I do know in like a more, I guess, broader spectrum as to what a tune-up is because my car has been giving me problems and failures, and it's been like light on, like this and that and the other, and I'm like, ah! And I don't feel like fighting with anybody at Toyota anymore, right? Because if I know what's going on, then we can communicate, you know, and my car will get fixed, right? And whatever it is that my car may need, then that's what will get done with my car so that my car can drive for a longer duration of time and safer for the people who are in it, right? So what happens when we need a tune-up, a spiritual tune-up, right? And yesterday I found myself, you know, even more so needing this word, you know, and I was grateful that God already gave it to me. And I needed a spiritual tune-up because of the things that are in my life that are chaotic. You know, the things that are in my life that I have not taken hold of completely. You know, that I have allowed other people to either like help me with. And I say help me because, you know, the only way that someone literally does want to help another person is if it comes from their heart and not if you have to ask about it. And I know that that sounds bad because sometimes you do need to ask for help, but you also need to ask or need to know who to ask for help from. Because then there are people who will talk about you and not give you the correct help or not even help you at all, you know. And even sometimes, you know, like if you need help is in the sense of having motivation, that's help too, you know, because I was thinking about Divano actually yesterday, because I was putting on a skirt that I bought, and I know this is so bad because this is a tune-up, like this is my part of my tune-up. I went to the thrift shop. The thrift shop is my, just don't take me there. Okay, because I buy stuff that I know that aren't necessary sometimes, and to be honest, I have been confronting the thrift shop on purpose because I do need a tune-up in that part of my life, and to buy things that I know that I need, right, that are good and affordable. That's where you should be going there. But a lot of the times I was going there for stuff I didn't need, like this said skirt. Months ago, I bought this skirt. And this skirt was like, oh my God, it's so cute. I really like it, whatever, right? And when I put it on, it didn't even fit, like, it didn't fit. It didn't even go up to half of my legs. I guess she got tired. But, you know, yesterday when I tried it on, it fit. And I was like, wow, you know, and I was thinking the process that it took for me to actually put that skirt on. You know, the tune-up in my body, the tune-up with whatever I am eating, you know, looking at what I'm consuming all the time, what medications, even with myself, you know, a lot of other things like iron and different things that needed to be regulated, okay? And I thought about my service light in my brain and, you know what I mean, in my heart and any, you know, part of my body. Did I actually listen to that service light? And there were things that I had been listening to, which is why I'm like getting healthier and was able to fit into that outfit. And I know that it's not, being healthy is not about fitting into something, but, you know, being healthy is literally noticing what is going on with your life, you know, in your body, you know. But also that's what we have to see in our spiritual life. Is our spiritual life as healthy as it needs to be? Are we able to listen to that small voice of God, to be still and listen to God, right? And actually say, hey, what do I need to fix? My little spiritual service light is on. What do I need to fix within my mind, within my heart, within anything, right? Because it's difficult. It's difficult to do these things on our own if we don't have the motivation, if we don't have God guiding us. And a lot of us, especially us who are older, right? We're stuck in our own ways. I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm a Christian. I got this. I read the Bible. I pray. No, it doesn't matter. It's not only about that, right? And it's about being innocent within those things that we are doing. Being open to pray the right way and read the Bible the right way, and then even react the right way and not react the right way, And that's the thing that God brought me to, because it's like, okay, in terms of a tune-up, you have to check the fluids, you got to check the wear and tear of the car, especially if it comes with age. And that's the greatest part, because I was like, wow, I see how God put it together, right? Because an older car, you have to get it regular checkups, regular tune-ups, right? An older person, yeah, we need regular checkups and regular tune-ups more than children, which is why the word says that as a child, we are able to enter, heaven if we're childlike, because they are easier to change into their mindset and be able to raise the right way than us as adults, because we are stuck in our own ways. So we can look at ourselves as an old car that if we don't get a tune-up, we just gonna stay a hot mess, and we ain't gonna run anymore. And it's gonna be bad, because when we are overwhelmed and exhausted and we don't run anymore, that's when our negativity starts spewing out on other people, which is what happened yesterday. I promise, I think I had to ask Oscar for forgiveness like 7 times. You know what I mean? Yesterday, because I was like, I'm sorry. You know what I mean? Like, I had to check myself, because I realized that, not that he hasn't been there to help in the ministry, but I realized that because I was overwhelmed in whatever I was doing in my tune-up, I couldn't see what he was doing to help as a whole, right? And I was negative instead, because I was like, wait, why is he helping me and doing my... No, why aren't you helping you? Right? We have to check on ourselves, and the when that little service light comes on, we have to make sure that we pay attention to that. Why are we sitting there like, okay, so one thing for me, as people know that I've been diagnosed with high blood pressure, right? So one thing for me that is a beep, 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 like a no, go drink water, go drink your medication, is when I feel like my lips are salty. And I know that that's weird, but that means that my body has too much salt in it, where I'm like, oh my goodness, what is this, right? And I'm feeling like overwhelmed and stuff like that. So imagine when you're having that service light, or that little tiny like warning light, right? Or a warning in your spiritual life. How can you even tell? Are you getting mad quicker? Are you, what I mean, crying a lot more? Are you, in a depressed mood a lot more? Are you doing, things that you shouldn't be doing? Are you like not caring about someone? Because you know what? Like, that's another thing too. Selfishness is part of you being like, hold up, espérate. Because the word says love your neighbor as you do yourself. And if you're not loving your neighbor, right, then you're not going to do the stuff that you need to do. And then you're thinking, well, here I go, I'm just going to do whatever I want for myself because I need it. No. You know what I mean? Because that's not what it's about. We see, yes, we have our times apart with God, our relationship with God. That's why the word says that we have to love God above all things, and we have to pray without ceasing and things like that. Yes, that is necessary. But in the time frames where other people are surrounding us, are we seriously showing Jesus? Are we? So then that's when we have to sit down and say, okay, I got to diagnose this problem in this tune-up and reflect what I'm doing wrong or what's going on within me. Why is my service light on? Why is this happening? Why am I getting even more aggravated nowadays? What is it within me? Because the things that we actually spew out is something that we hate about ourselves. You know what I'm saying? So whatever we're doing in our, like, let's say if we're insecure, right? And we speak to a person in a way that we shouldn't speak to them, is because that's what we want to hear so that we can feel secure. Do you know what I'm saying? In a sense of like, not like negative, but in a sense of positivity where we shouldn't be sometimes, and it's crazy because we would never notice if we don't stop and be still and ask God, hey, diagnose the problem. Let's reflect on what's happening so that we can be in tune with what we need and we can actually have that tune up by God. Because if you don't reflect in your spiritual life, how can you reflect in anything else that you do any other time? Do you know what I mean? Because that's literally your spiritual life is all of you, especially if we call ourselves believers. Jesus Christ is supposed to live in our heart. But we already know that God cannot live in a place where it's negative. He can't live there, you know, which is why yesterday I went crazy and I took everything out of everywhere and I started all over again, because that was part of my spiritual tune-up. I knew that I needed to declutter and de-chaos, or whatever you want to call it, my life, my house, throw things away, get things, get rid of things, because I can't do the things that I need to do for everybody else when in my intimate space, it looks like a mess. If within me, my tune-up is having this service light on and I need oil, I need fluids, I need all of this stuff, I can't do anything for anybody. And yes, it helps to give a word, to read the word, it helps to impart the word onto yourself and to others. Yes, that helps. But we still have to reflect upon ourselves. Because then what about if we give a word and because we have been having such an emotional week of depression and stuff like that, we put our own emotions into the word, and when God doesn't want that in there, then what good are we doing to somebody? You know what I mean? We're not. We're literally reflecting whatever it is that we are feeling to that word or to that person, when it might not even be the right thing to do. And so we need this process where we are, there with God and saying, okay, God, we have diagnosed what it is. I have been depressed because of this, this, and this. What can I do in my own strength that is possible for me to do with your guidance so that I can change it? And then the impossible things God will do. But we have to do that part. We have to realize, okay, this is like, I even had someone tell me, hey, doesn't sound right when you're cursing. You're cursing too much. And I'm like, like my little curse light was on my service light. I was like, what am I doing? I had to turn it off. And I'm not a person who curses. I've never been since I was younger. And it was difficult for me. And I was like, why am I doing this? So I had to sit there and backtrack as to why I was cursing and what allowed me to do that from the root. What is going on? And it happened to be the music that I was listening to, and it's something that you might think that it's that like small, but it's big, things that you sit there and you listen to on a daily basis. That's what you're going to reflect, and that's why it's so important that when we're reflecting and we're asking God to help us turn off these little lights that are within our service lights that are on, when we're asking God to help us in that aspect, to truly listen as to what they are. Because imagine if I sat there and didn't get that root from, God about where the cursing was coming from, and then I started cursing at my kids. And it happens. I'm not going to say that it hasn't. I'm always transparent. But, a lot of the times we don't even know that we're speaking to them in the wrong way or to ourselves. You know what I mean? When we wake up in the morning and we thank God, do we thank ourselves for what we did the day before? The positive things. Do we reflect on the negative things and say, okay, well, I'm not going to try to do that today? And this is something, I know that people can argue with me about this and, oh, well, a car needs a tune-up. Yeah, the car needs a tune-up every so often. But we need to tune up a lot more, especially whenever it is like, I'm going to give you the example of my car. My car is an electric vehicle. They still have not found and diagnosed the problem that is going on with my vehicle. That's the greatest example. Imagine if a car doesn't allow the mechanic or the creator of it to even see what is wrong with it. Imagine us as humans. If we don't allow God, our creator, to see what is within us that is damaged, that is wrong, that the service light is on, then how are we going to get fixed? We're going to drive around with oil leaking, with things spewing, and how is that any good for anybody, even yourself? So we have to allow God as our creator to continue. And that's why I'm allowing, okay, Toyota, here's my car again. Here's this, check that. Here's this, and that's what we have to do with God. I saw the source of where my cursing was, and I downsized my music that I was listening to. I'm not going to sit there and and lie. I listen to secular music. I listen to non-Christian music. You know, God is the creator of everything. It's the way that we are the ones that allow it to affect us or affect others. That's what is in a whole, because God wants us to have, you know, a fun life. And I'm not saying that there isn't fun Christian music, but he wants us to have a life where it's filled with things, because then how can we testify and help others get out of their negativity or wherever they need to be from if we don't even have experience in it? And yes, people may say that the greatest testimony is that of a person who doesn't do anything wrong. And yes, it is. That's great. It's wonderful. But they could only help a certain amount of people, you know? And unfortunately, we are all sinners. And there are going to be people that are going to be saying, oh, well, how can you help me if you've never sinned? You know what I mean? And it happens. And I know that it's terrible to say it, and I'm going to get backlash, and that's fine. I don't care. But that's what God has given me in my heart. Because we can't pretend that we are perfect, because we're not. None of us are. Jesus is the only one. That's why God sent Jesus, because he tried every other way with Abraham, with Moses, with everyone that he tried before, with Adam at the beginning and Eve. And it didn't work. So he had to send God the Son to come down here as a human so that he can see, okay, we can live in this good life that I want you to live, you know, as God. But I have to be in tune with God. I have to be able to have that tune up with God and be able to have that reflection with God like Jesus did. You know, 40 days and 40 nights in the desert by himself, right? Fasting and prayer. How many of us have stopped doing that, right? Just to receive answers from God. You know, even in the word where, you know, it's not coming to me right now in my mind, but, you know, he fought an angel for his blessing. You know what I mean? How many times do we just give up because, oh, God doesn't want this for us, but he really doesn't. He's, you had one more step and you know, because you let yourself backtrack. And then we want to sit there and go back to our old lives, I guess, or our old selves and say, well, this is better because at least I'm happy. But are you? Your check engine light is still on and you're not revving the right way, especially for God. You know, so after we have diagnosed the problem and reflected on what the problem is, allow God to help you with that tune-up. Be in tune with him. Be in tune with yourself and what you are allowing in your life and what you're allowing to come out of yourself. Even for yourself, when you look at yourself in the mirror, what are you saying? Because a lot of people, you know, when they say, oh, I don't use the Lord's name in vain, but you kind of are when you're, you know, speaking to yourself in a negative connotation, in a negative way. Because we are all created in the image of God. And when we're saying, oh, I'm ugly, I'm stupid, I'm this, I'm that, and the other, we're cursing his name. You know? And so that's part of the tune-up. You know, that's part of it. We have to live by what he has already given us. The promises that he's given us. The things that he has already given us and allowed us to have in our lives. We have to live by it. And I know it's going to be difficult. I'm not saying that it's easy. It's not at all. Obviously, you already saw that. I had to sit there and give myself a tune-up yesterday. And how, you know, God allows me to give the word. And I gave my, you know what I mean? I was in tune with God yesterday. I'm like, oh my God. Ask Oscar. 7 times, 8 times. And the word says 7 times 70. So I owe him 70 times more of an apology. You know what I mean? Because I was negative towards him. You know? So this week, every day, think about what God has for you in your life. If you still don't know your purpose, that's okay. Because at least we know 3 things, right? We need to love God above all things. We need to love our neighbor as we do ourselves. We need to, 4. We need to, you know, accept Jesus Christ as our Lord and Savior. And we need to go upon the nations and preach the gospel. But how can we do that last one if we don't do the first 3? We can't. So I want you to stay in tune with God, and whatever it is that he diagnosed, you know, remember that was only a temporary diagnosis. Nothing is ever permanent except for Christ. Okay? A diagnosis that someone gives, and even the one that God gives you, that so that you can get to your purpose, is temporary, because he's allowing you to fix it. That's why he's given us grace and mercy. And he wakes us up each and every day and saying, hey, you're awake, you're still here, I have a purpose for you, you haven't carried it out. So let's stay in tune with me, so that I can tell you what's next, so that you can receive this big blessings right here. I want to give it to you, so that your vehicle, your spiritual life, yourself can move accordingly. And you ain't going to be spewing out a whole bunch of things you shouldn't be, right? Amen.